Here's something I discovered after studying over 2,000 millionaires across 25 years of research. Most wealthy people don't follow elaborate budgets. They don't track every dollar they spend. They don't use fancy apps or complicated spreadsheets. Instead, they follow one simple principle that compounds over time. I call it the 1% rule. What exactly is this rule? It's straightforward. Automatically redirect just 1% of your income before you see it. That's it. No complex calculations. No guilt about spending. No restrictive budgeting. Let me show you how this works in practice. You've probably tried budgeting before. Most people have. You download an app, categorize your spending, set limits for groceries and entertainment. Then life happens. Car repairs, medical bills, that retirement party at work. Within weeks, you've abandoned the budget entirely. Here's why. Budgeting focuses on restriction. It makes you feel deprived. Every purchase becomes a negotiation with yourself. Eventually, willpower runs out. The 1% rule works differently. It focuses on automation, not restriction. Let's examine actual numbers. Say you earn $75,000 annually. 1% equals $750 yearly, or roughly $62.50 monthly. That's less than you probably spend on streaming services. But here's where it gets interesting. If you invest that $62.50 monthly at an average 8% return, you'll accumulate approximately $37,000 in 20 years. Not life-changing money, perhaps, but you haven't finished yet. Here's the real power. Once you've automated that 1%, you won't miss it. Within 3 months, you'll adjust. Your lifestyle adapts. Then you can increase to 2%. Then 3%. By the time you reach 10% or 15%, you're building serious wealth. But you started with just 1%. Let me share 3 stories from our research. I've changed identifying details, but the patterns are authentic. Margaret taught elementary school. She earned $58,000 annually. Not wealthy by most standards. Yet at age 62, she had accumulated $1.2 million. How? She started with her school district's automatic retirement contribution. Just 1% of her salary. She barely noticed it. Every year when she received a raise, she increased her contribution by 1%. She never touched the money. By the time she retired, she was contributing 18% automatically. She lived comfortably on the remaining 82%. She never felt deprived because the increases happened gradually. David earned substantial income, roughly $180,000 yearly. He drove a used sedan. He lived in a modest home. His neighbors assumed he struggled financially. They were wrong. David had $3.4 million in investments at age 57. His secret? He automated 15% of every paycheck into index funds. But he didn't start there. He began with 1% fresh out of college when he earned just $32,000. He increased it slightly with every raise. The key insight: he never saw that money. It disappeared before reaching his checking account. Eleanor inherited nothing. She worked as a medical office administrator, earning $48,000. Her husband had been a firefighter. Together, they lived frugally but comfortably. When her husband passed suddenly at 63, Eleanor discovered something remarkable. They had accumulated $890,000 in retirement accounts and investments. Her husband had automated contributions to multiple accounts, started with 1% decades earlier. Increased gradually, they lived well on what remained. Why does this work when budgeting fails? First, it bypasses decision fatigue. You decide once. Then automation takes over. No daily willpower required. Second, it's invisible spending. Money you never see feels like money you never had. You adapt your lifestyle to your take-home pay, not your gross income. Third, it removes guilt. You're not depriving yourself of anything specific. You can still buy coffee, eat out, take vacations, just with slightly less than your full income. Research in behavioral economics supports this approach. Professor Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics, calls it choice architecture. You structure your environment to make good decisions automatic. Let's get practical. Here's your step-by-step guide. Step 1, calculate your 1%. Take your monthly take-home pay. Divide by 100. That's your starting point. Earn $4,500 monthly after taxes. Your 1% equals $45. Earn $6,200 monthly. Your 1% equals $62. Step 2. Choose your vehicle. Where should this money go? You have several options. Employer Retirement Plan 401k, 403b, Individual Retirement Account IRA, Automatic Transfer to Investment Account, Health Savings Account if eligible. I recommend starting with your employer plan if they offer matching. That's free money you're leaving on the table otherwise. Step 3. Set it and forget it. Most employers let you adjust retirement contributions online. Takes 5 minutes. Set it to 1% if you're currently at 0. Set it to increase 1% if you're already contributing. No employer plan? Open an IRA at any major brokerage. Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab all make this simple. Set up automatic monthly transfers from your checking account. Step 4. Increase gradually. This is crucial. Every 6 months, increase your contribution by 1%. Most employer plans let you schedule automatic increases. If you receive a raise, increase your contribution immediately. Take half the raise for lifestyle improvement. Put the other half toward wealth building. Step 5. Resist the temptation to check. Don't obsessively monitor your account balance, especially during market downturns. You're building long-term wealth, not day trading. Check once quarterly at most. Rebalance annually if needed. Here's where most financial advice gets complicated. I'll keep it simple. If you're just starting, use target date funds. These automatically adjust your investment mix based on when you plan to retire. You pick a year, say 2040, and the fund does the rest. Don't try to beat the market. Don't chase hot stocks. Don't panic during downturns. Most millionaires we studied invested in boring index funds and held them for decades. Not exciting, very effective. Common objections and how to overcome them. I can't afford even 1%. If you truly can't afford 1%, start with 0.5% or 0.25%. The exact percentage matters less than establishing the habit. You'd be surprised how quickly you adjust. Most people waste more than 1% of their income on things they don't remember buying. I have too much debt. This is legitimate. But here's what research shows. People who save nothing while paying off debt often continue saving nothing after the debt disappears. Consider this: save your 1% while making minimum debt payments. Once you've established the savings habit, you can temporarily pause it to accelerate debt payoff. I'm too old to start. Nonsense. Even if you're 65, you likely have 20 years ahead. 1% of your income invested for 20 years still compounds significantly. Besides, the goal isn't just wealth accumulation. It's building the discipline of paying yourself first. The market is too risky right now. The market is always risky. It's also historically risen over every 20-year period. Trying to time the market typically backfires. Dollar cost averaging, investing the same amount regularly actually reduces risk. You buy more shares when prices are low, fewer when prices are high. Here's something unexpected we discovered. People who successfully implement the 1% rule for finances often apply it elsewhere. One woman started with 1% of her income to savings. Then she applied the same principle to exercise. Commit to 1% of her day, about 15 minutes, to physical activity. Then to reading, then to learning a new skill. Within 2 years, she had transformed multiple areas of her life. All starting with that tiny financial commitment. Why? Because the 1% rule teaches you that small, consistent actions compound over time. This applies to health, relationships, knowledge, and career development just as much as money. After interviewing thousands of millionaires, certain patterns emerged consistently. Most wealthy people don't look wealthy. They drive used cars. They live in modest homes. They shop at regular stores. What distinguishes them? They prioritize building assets over displaying status. They understood something crucial: income doesn't equal wealth. You can earn $200,000 annually and have no wealth if you spend $200,000 annually. Conversely, You can earn $60,000 annually and accumulate significant wealth if you live on $50,000 and invest the difference. The 1% rule embodies this principle. You're choosing future security over current consumption, not dramatically, just slightly. Let me give you perspective through a thought experiment. Think back 20 years. What did you worry about financially? What seemed urgent? Now look at your current financial situation. Did those urgent concerns matter in the long run? Probably not as much as you thought. Now project forward 20 years. What will matter then? Having lived a slightly less expensive lifestyle? Or having financial security and options? The 1% rule bets on the latter. After you've automated your 1% and increased it over time, consider these variations. The windfall rule. Whenever you receive unexpected money tax refund, bonus, inheritance, automatically invest 50%. Use the other 50% guilt-free for lifestyle improvements. The raise rule. When you get a raise, immediately increase your automatic savings by half the raise amount. If you get a 4% raise, increase savings by 2%. The side income rule. Any money from side projects, freelancing, or hobbies goes entirely to wealth building. This money feels extra, making it easier to save completely. If you're reading this past 50, you might think you've missed the boat. You haven't. Here's why the 1% rule works especially well for people in their 50s and 60s. First, you've likely hit peak earning years. Your income is higher than it was at 30. That 1% represents more actual dollars. Second, your major expenses may be decreasing. Children are grown. Mortgage might be paid or nearly paid. You can redirect money previously spent on these obligations. Third, you're close enough to retirement that the benefits feel tangible. You're not saving for some abstract future 40 years away. You're saving for a retirement that's visible on the horizon. Fourth, you've learned that life is short. You don't want to work forever. The discipline of the 1% rule can accelerate your path to choice about when and whether to work. Here's something we discovered that surprised us. Most wealthy people we studied didn't inherit their money. Over 80% built wealth themselves within one generation. They started with nothing or very little. What separated them from everyone else? Not intelligence, not connections, not luck, discipline, self-restraint. Living below their means, investing the difference. The 1% rule makes these abstract concepts concrete and actionable. You don't need to be smarter. You don't need better connections. You don't need luck. You need to redirect 1% of your income before you see it. Then, wait. Let me paint a different picture. What if you don't implement the 1% rule? In 20 years, you'll likely earn similar income. You'll probably have accumulated minimal savings. You'll still worry about money. You'll still feel financially insecure. The only difference, you'll be 20 years older with 20 fewer years to build wealth. That's the cost of inaction. Not just lost money, lost time, lost options, lost peace of mind. Your action plan for this week. Don't overthink this. Here's what to do in the next 7 days. Monday, calculate your 1%. Write it down. Tuesday, log into your employer retirement system. If you don't have access, research IRA options. Wednesday, set up or increase your automatic contribution by 1%. Thursday, mark your calendar for 6 months from now to increase another 1%. Friday, tell someone what you did. Accountability helps. Weekend, forget about it. Live your life. Let automation work. That's it. 7 days to change your financial trajectory. Imagine yourself 20 years from now. You're celebrating your birthday with family and friends. Someone asks how you're doing financially. You smile. You explain that you're comfortable, secure, you have options. You don't worry about money anymore. They ask your secret. You tell them about the 1% rule you started 2 decades ago. How it seemed insignificant at first. How it compounded into something substantial. They're impressed. You're grateful you started when you did. That future isn't guaranteed. But it's available. The choice is yours to make. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Start with 1%. Just 1%. Let mathematics and time do the rest. Your future self will thank you.